Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Casa Podcast. It's Kojo again in the building, and today I have a full house. We're going to dare to go where no podcast has ever gone. I hope those of you who are Star Trek fans would get that reference, right? We're going to boldly go where no podcast has ever gone. We're going to try to safely navigate cancel culture without getting canceled. I am scared that after this show, I have some guests in the house. I know they're going to get us in trouble and get us canceled. But I have Nanekia, I have Kwesi, and I have Ifia, your boy, in the building. Guys, how you doing? How you doing?
Hi,
I'm good.
Kwesi.
I'm good, man.
good.
Today we're going to
What's
be talking
going
about
on?
cancel culture. We're going to be talking about cancel culture. But before we get into the conversation, right, guys, how was your week? Nanekia, how was your week?
I had a long week, but
Mhm.
I'm just glad it's over and I got some rest. I don't want to think about it.
The weekend is over
Yeah.
on Anikia.
Well, I still have a few hours. Don't rain on it if you come on now.
Nanekia is trying to cancel her week. If you're a boy,
Oh,
how was
yeah.
your week?
I had a great week. It wasn't
Okay.
so hectic.
Mhm.
Just the usual. Nothing serious.
I see. Sunday fun day, guy. Sunday fun day. The
Yes,
first man himself.
sir.
How was your
Yes,
week?
sir. Charlie, it was good. I didn't work Friday, so 3-day weekend.
Okay.
Oh.
I can't.
okay.
I can't complain. I'll take that every week.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice to see how
How
yours
was your week?
Good one. Now, 36 episodes into season 2. Now you guys have caught it. Season 1, they always forgot to ask how my week went. But
That's not
yes, my week was amazing, guys. I bumped into something that really made the week even super exciting, right? I realized one of my friends from Kenya has a podcast, and I found about it this week, and I just binge listened to the entire thing. It's the Kalish Talk Show. I'm going to plug. I've never plugged any podcast on the show before, but today I'm going to plug a podcast. It was amazing. I enjoyed it. He had some very wonderful
Oh, did we lose him?
about to
true.
discuss.
Yeah, we lost him.
There he is.
Hey, you did?
No, he's here. He's here.
It's okay.
Yeah, we
we
did
lost you for
lose
a
you for
second.
like a second.
Hey.
A split
Well,
second, yeah.
I'm glad you didn't lose me. I'm back. Yeah. So I was talking about the show I bumped into this week, the Kalish Talk Show. It was good. I enjoyed it. I binge listened to it a lot. And then there's an idea. I'm trying to get him on the podcast too. He's a very funny guy. Very funny guy. So his tagline is your girlfriend's favorite podcaster. And so once he starts the show, hello, it's your girlfriend's favorite podcaster. He is a very funny guy. I'm trying to get him on here. He has these games he plays on his show, and I think Casa podcast would definitely play that game. But
Oh.
I did, and it made my week very wonderful. But yeah, that was my week. And now that we're not going to cancel anyone, I hope we're not going to cancel anyone. We're going to dive into cancel culture. A lot of us hear about cancel culture. It's almost everywhere you go. He's been canceled. She's been canceled. Oh, they canceled that. Oh, they boycotted that. And most people scratch their heads like, what's this thing? Where did it come from? What's cancel culture? Where did it come from? How did it start? Guys, let's get into the origin of this whole cancel culture business. How did it start? Where did it come from? Quizzy, you want to take us?
Oh man, I would say
Mhm,
urban culture
mhm,
is more into cancel culture now.
Mhm.
And if you ask me to define cancel culture, I would say
Mhm.
it's this culture where um it's people shun consumers, right? Whatever,
Mhm.
it's like consumerism, like whatever you're putting out because of something you did or something you said in the
Mhm.
past,
Mhm.
we're no longer going to consume it. Whether you're a
Mhm.
rapper, you're an actor, you're a politician, you're a lawyer, you're what. Once people know you, whatever you're selling, whether it's your service or your goods or whatever, they don't want to touch it, right? So the consumers don't want to touch whatever.
Mhm.
They don't want to consume what you're bringing.
Whatever. Mhm. Mhm.
So that's how I define it, or that's how I see it. But
Okay.
I mean, I think
So-
there's several definitions.
So to you, cancel culture is basically a form of consumerism. mostly political, right? Where people are expressing their values through these things, right? So
Yep,
if you don't like something, they don't agree with you on a certain moral or on a value, then they would express their feedback. So I don't like what you said, so I'm not going to listen to any more of what you have to say. I don't like
Yep.
your position on this, so I'm not going to buy your stuff. Interesting. Consumerism. But how did it get to this point where it doesn't look like it's consumerism anymore? Nanekia, would you agree that it's more from just consumerism to like a movement, like a campaign? Like a campaign to boycott someone, a campaign to not listen to a musician. How did we get here? When did this
So
change?
with a little information that I gathered, cancel culture. I mean, the phrase has been there long enough, but it became popularized around 2017 when the Me Too movement started, and people like Harvey Weinstein and all the way down to Bill Cosby and the rest got in trouble. Some actually lost their jobs. Some are actually in jail. But that's when cancel culture became a movement at that point. But it's been there from a long time ago, like in the 90s.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. Bringing up the Me Too movement, most people think that's where it started. That's where it became like, it came in. It took center stage in the public discussion, right? Before the movement took off, I mean, yeah, people were doing all these boycotts and all. It was low key. And it was more like, me and my friends are not going to buy from this shop anymore because they were rude to me. But now it's like it gained a lot of traction. What? What do you think? Again, the Me Too movement and political consumerism, and even like all these consumerism activities picking steam. What do you think the role of social media, especially Twitter, played in all this becoming what it's become?
I mean, social media, I think it was through social media that made everything popular, right? Because initially it was very individual. As you said, it's just my friend and I, we're not going to the shop anymore. And then that was it. But when people realize the power of social media and how they can call people out on social media, they realize people use social media more than it just being like an entertainment, but somebody build a whole career around it where they push their brand and all that. They realized they could call people out on social media, and especially Twitter, where Twitter is like one of the most of the social media platforms is like posting pictures. Twitter is more like typing what you think, like it's more of text than pictures. Initially it was less of pictures, but now we see pictures now. So that was where people would take out their phone and tweet at you, and they know you. It's like at you they are going at you, because the Instagram, brands don't really allow celebrities to handle their own Instagram account, because the picture and how you look pictorially, they want it to look a certain way. But when it comes to tweets, most people know, they handle their own tweet and all that. So when they tweet at you, they know it's going to come at you. Yeah, they're coming straight at you. And that's where people started calling people out. And because now, the world is a global village, right? So now everyone uses the internet. And so it's so easy. It's made everything easy to reach out to people, call people out, draw people's attention to what they do. And now it's like we overdoing it. But yeah.
We're overdoing it. It's funny because whenever you were talking about Twitter, my mind was going to this thing where, like we said, consumerism has been around for a long time. I remember in the 90s, right, there was a boycott on Nike goods because they were using sweatshop labor, right? Basically, kids and underpaid kids in developing countries were being forced to make all these Nike shoes, these Gap things, and people did protest, right? Nestle had this big scandal that people were like, we're not going to buy from Nestle again, right? And so like you'd see all these things, and to get a movement going, you needed, I remember the guy who started the whole boycott the Gap. He had to create a whole website and then get people to sign on and buy onto the idea. So it was a process. It took a while, and people got convinced. Like, people would ask questions. Why are we boycotting this, right? Getting traction was difficult. But now all you need is a hashtag, it looks like. Twitter has made boycotting and organizing a lot easier. It has its good sides, right? political
Yeah.
mobilization, getting people to sign on to things have become a lot easier. But then again, things like cancel culture has also become a lot easier. Like people can wake up in their pajamas and start a whole cancel project. Like, oh, I don't like what Nanekia said to me. Hashtag boycott Nanekia. And by lunchtime, enough people would have signed on and it's trending. And before you realize, Nanekia is losing a job. And so I can see the role social media has played, and especially in terms of explaining. Like people are not asking questions anymore.
No.
How much explanation can you give in 140 characters? So boycott Kwesi. It's like, okay, well, I know Kwesi. I really didn't like him. So hashtag boycott Kwesi. And before I realize, Frost is losing his job.
You can't boycott Kwesi, man.
Hey, are you sure?
You can't cancel me, man.
Okay.
I mean, Twitter is 100. You can't use 140
Is that
characters
a
to
challenge,
cancel me.
Quincy?
I deserve more than 140 characters.
I know Kwame can assassinate your Twitter profile in a few seconds. I know Kwame can cancel you. I mean, that guy has.
No, he can't.
Okay. Before I have a ton of questions, so we're definitely going to dive into the conversation some more. I need to know if I'm on the verge of being cancelled. But before then, I'm going to read some of the comments, right? Because our lovely viewers are in the building and the comments are coming in. If you're here and you haven't yet put your comment in, let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you think about cancel culture. Tell me when you think it began. Answer these questions in the comment section. And if you're watching the rerun, it's not too late to join the conversation. Leave a comment anyways. We're going to jump in. Nanekia has taken it upon herself to go into the comment section and respond to every comment. So you drop a comment and Nanekia is going to get back to you on that. But I'm going to read the ones we're getting in now. Michael is in the building. I told you, Kwesi, watch yourself. Michael said, we come. Oh, Michael, welcome to the show.
Cancel.
Michael is saying, welcome everyone. Rashid is here. I almost asked if you had the king of R&B. That would definitely get you cancelled. We're definitely going to get into some of this. And for the listeners and the people who've joined, I can promise you one thing. In this show, there's going to be a lot of gossip. The people sitting here, if you're a boy, it's not the only gossip. They all have
What do you
the
mean by
stories.
I'm not only gossip? I don't gossip.
Listen, from season 1, we've known you to be the snitch in the building.
Please.
No, but today your snitching is going to be, listen, we giving you full mandate. Tell us the stories. Give us the tea. Listen, I have my tea right here, and we're going to spill a lot of the tea behind most of the cancellations you've seen. I know a lot of people are like, listen, what really happened? How did this person get cancelled? How did Kevin Hart? How did Doja Cat? All the people who've been cancelled. We're going to dive into some of them, give you the step-by-step, play-by-play, what they did and how things went down. So we're going to spill some tea. So grab your tea and drop a like on the video and let's continue. Amanda is saying, my wife representing. Amanda, I'm not going to go into this comment, but there's a whole dust up that happened earlier today. Banana juice and everything were involved, but we're going to leave that for another episode. Michael, hey Kwejo, you're a vanishing man. Yes, I have been trying to learn how to vanish, but my internet is saying no way, not today. So I'm here. I'm not going anywhere anymore. Nanekia, love. Much love from PY. PY is sending all the love. Kwame just bust bubbles. He's like, PY, Nanekia is married.
Oh,
thank you. Kwame, you don't have to be doing this. Okay? Rashid said, your girlfriend's favorite podcaster. So if you're single, you shouldn't watch it. Cancelled. So Kalish, listen, I think your tagline is really rubbing Rashid off the wrong way. Rashid is like, he's not going to listen or he's going to cancel you because he's single. He doesn't have a girlfriend for you to be their favorite podcaster. Kalish, I'd send a message to him, Rashid, and maybe he will change the tagline. But it was catchy. I liked it. Your girlfriend's favorite podcaster, the Kalish Show once again. So many plugs today. Kalish should start paying me. Abbas, I would come for my money. PY is saying, what is this? Can't a brother be happy seeing his sister? I'm surprised. I mean, Kwame. Okay, Kwame has agreed. Kwesi is repping everything Chicago. Yes, he is repping Chicago. Paul, if you hadn't said it, none of us was going to comment. I'm also repping
I
New
was going
Orleans.
to comment.
I'm also repping New Orleans. Come on.
Blue Demon.
Let's move on. Nanekia went to do research. Cancel culture, as the name explains itself. Yetwa mu mienu. My boss, Kwame, your comments.
Come on.
Cancel culture hashtag. I can't repeat this hashtag on here.
Yeah.
Honestly,
don't
man,
do that.
I really don't want to demonetize my podcast. I've already said something that I'm already worried about getting a strike on, so I'm not going to do that. Dachehine is here. He's like, hello, everyone. Hello, Dachehine. Welcome. We salute you too. And Paul's Ghana is saying, oh, my mother. Hey,
who's the mother here?
Hey,
there's two women.
Now we're okay. Pause.
Yeah, that's my son.
Your mother didn't disown you. If your boy was almost disowning you. If your boy is worried when people think she's
too young for this.
Exactly.
No, I actually have two sons, so I mean,
okay.
I thought it was one of them for a minute.
I like your hairstyle. Nanekia, you're looking
you.
amazing. Yes,
Thank
Nanekia is looking amazing. And Ifya, your boy's hairstyle, Ifya is always rocking as
Ifya is
usual.
always looking good. Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to dive into the conversation. Thanks for the comments and keep the comments coming in. Like I said, if you're watching the rerun, it's never too late. Let us know what you think, right? Hit us in the comment section, drop a comment, drop a like, share the video. That's also very helpful. It helps us a lot. If your boy is going to be famous if you keep sharing. So let's keep going. But back to cancel culture. And I have a big question for you guys. Before we get into the details of the stories, I want to talk about Kiddy and everyone. But my question is, who deserves to be cancelled? In your opinion, what is a cancelable offense? What would someone do for you to say, I think you went too far. Now you're cancelled. Nanekia, who deserves to be cancelled?
I don't know if I'm in a position to say who should be cancelled, but I think some people just take things too far. And I say that if people's actions, like we discussed earlier, when people actually show you that they just don't care about their repercussions, or just don't care who they hurt, and will just do things, maybe racist actions or mobilizing people to act in a very bad way, they definitely need to be cancelled. I'm always on the fence about things like that, but I think some people definitely do deserve to be cancelled at some point. Yeah, we can't always keep giving the olive branch.
So to you people who are not changing their mind, people who are constantly engaged on the impact their actions are having on others and are not changing their mind, they deserve to be cancelled. Sister, I'm with you right there. Amen. If you are being addressed on an issue, if you're being called out on an issue, and listen, you have to change and you stick to your guns and you're not changing, I think you deserve to be cancelled. Yep. Yes. We're not the cancel police, but there are some things we can all stand behind. Kwesi, who do you think deserves to be cancelled?
I don't think anybody should be cancelled for what they say.
Okay.
I think we should cancel people for what they do. If they deliberately cause harm to people, what they do. Because to me, action speaks louder than words. It's not, you can say whatever you want, but I watch it say, watch what they do, not what they say.
Not what they say.
Yeah. So that what you do, if you doing bunch of dumb stuff to inflict pain and harm on people, we should get rid of your ass like ASAP. Go to the left.
To the left. I agree.
Don't you think that sometimes people's words instigate certain actions? And so
they do.
No. I'm saying, okay, in this case, right? If you go if you know 20 people. And you go tell them to go do something stupid. I don't even want to say anything, like go do something real harmful to other people. Yeah, you're part of the 20 people that you just it's part of the action. So It's not. I mean, just
Yeah,
sitting
so
on.
sometimes, I mean, people say things, and if we go with, oh, we shouldn't really cancel people on what they say, people are not going to be responsible, especially when it comes to words. They'll just say anything because
Yeah, but if you have
at the
people
end of the
just like to
day,
run their mouth, right? People
So
run
I
their mouth.
think let's put what Kwesi said and what Nanekia said together. People don't deserve to be cancelled for what they say. If you're going
Mhm.
to take the time out of your day to have a conversation about it, hey, this thing you said is harmful to society. Why? A, B, C, and D are the reasons why it's harmful. Well, I'm gonna say it anyways. Well, then you're warned. Then they keep saying it, then you cancel them. I think it should be the beginning because again, people change their minds, right? I know there are a lot of positions I held maybe 10 years ago that after learning and interacting with people and engaging with people, I'm like, it was not a very smart thing to say. So I take it back and I say better, right? I change my mind. And so I completely agree, even with actions, right?
Mhm.
We need to have a conversation with people. And so, yes, if it's persistent acting a fool, if it's persistent saying the dumb stuff, then I think you may deserve to be cancelled. One time, it's the beginning of a conversation, right? Someone says something very ethnically charged, right? For the part of the world we come from, right? It says something very ethnically charged. Oh, Accra people are like that. You're like, oh no, you're cancelled.
No, no, no.
So cancel someone, it has to be like the end per like the final thing you
Last,
do.
yeah, that should be
The
the
last, the
last
last
Okay.
straw.
resort. That
Yeah.
should be the last resort, right? Start a conversation, actions, and even speech. But I don't think speech people should be canceled for speech because we need it's a dialogue, and I think society breaks down when we stop having a dialogue. Someone says something crazy you think is crazy, it's your duty to point out to them why it's crazy, not cancel them, because they're going to go somewhere else and say the same thing, and
Yeah.
maybe the next audience would not cancel them, they will herald them, and then they'll say the same dumb stuff, and before you realize they're the leader of your country or maybe worse, right? And so you have to engage. When someone says something you disagree with, you should have reasons why it's not a good thing and educate people. I think ignorance is a nice thing to embrace and educate, and then we move on. That's how society builds. Because there are things that are crazy today that tomorrow might be okay, and there are things that we think are so perfect today, and you go and say it in 20 years and the kids are going to look at you like, what the heck is wrong with you, right? And so dialogue,
Mhm.
I think canceling people for speech, I get why some people do it, but I think for me it's not deserving of cancel. If you're
Good.
what deserves to get someone canceled? Who deserves to be canceled?
I think you guys have said it all, right? But when it
Mhm.
comes to the speech, that is where I have a little problem.
Mhm.
I feel like people should be more responsible, even though we all know we are learning, and so we are not, we don't know it all. So sometimes you say something, but imagine someone with a large following, right? And
Mhm.
then the person might not know what they are saying, but these
Mhm.
people are obsessed with this person. And the moment the person tweets anything, they go with it. And then
Mhm.
you're like, oh, let's have a dialogue with this person.
Mhm.
Sometimes the harm might already been done. Like you're done with it already. Whatever
Mhm.
you said, it's past. The deed has already been done.
Hmm.
And so I think when it comes to our words and what we tweet or what we say,
Mhm.
we should exercise some caution, because once it's gone, it's gone. You can
Mhm.
apologize, I mean,
Um,
but the harm is already done.
see,
Interesting. Mhm.
let me say some. You said what we say, right? People that have large following, right? Twitter, unless Twitter is a cult, right? If it's not a cult, then we shouldn't really worry about what they say. And if it is, you can change the followings, the followers. You can change their mind, right? Because a
Hmm.
cult is a cult. If it's a cult, they will do what the leader says, right?
Hmm.
But social media is not a cult unless we want to go that route. Like we can classify it as, oh, if you are your boy, you have 2 million followers, and if you tell all of them to jump, they're gonna jump, right? If you this the only time that I'll agree with the speech part is when it's you're inciting violence, right? Like if you're
Mhm.
inciting violence, telling people that or you tell them to jump, they'll jump, they'll go harm other people. Then yeah,
Mhm.
maybe at that point it's not really canceling. It's like putting you in cuffs, arresting your ass, right?
Mhm.
Hmm. And so,
So we got to be careful with that the speech thing because it's like
interesting.
you're in the middle, and if you're not careful, you may fall on the left or the right. That's how I see it.
And so I think I see where you're coming from, right? But
Mhm.
the pushing it to the cult bit is where I disagree. It's not about whether or not it's a cult, right? There's something in political when you study society, right? There's something called stochastic terrorism, right?
Mhm.
You don't necessarily have to have a cult following, but
Mhm.
something you say can lead people to take certain actions.
Yeah.
I completely agree with people being responsible for their own actions. You can't say, "Hey, I love Beyonce so much. Beyonce said I should go and slap Kwesi, so I went to slap Kwesi." Well, you end up in court, and I agree,
Yeah,
but
you get slapped back.
no, but it's also important for those of us or those people in authority, people who have a following, to be
Mhm.
mindful of the things they say, because there are things that instigate people to do not very smart things, right? Or dumb things, right? And so yes, I think everybody has a duty. The person with the following, the celebrity, the person on the pedestal, owes the people down there cheering him on some level of, sanitizing their speech, being mindful, being responsible, knowing how the words they're going. Because we always talk about this things like this and the influence social media has, and we look at it on the negative side, but some of us have been inspired positively by things we see on social media. We've
Yep.
heard people speak personally. Kobe, after his passing, there were videos, and then I hear him say things, and then I would have goosebumps, like, "You've got to be the hardest working person." I'm like, damn, that is inspirational, right? And so whether we like it or not, words have meaning. Words can drive people to do things. Words, even your friends, I keep going, Kwesi, you're doing a great job. Oh, if you're a boy, you're killing it. Like Nanekia, hey, go
Mhm.
smash it. These things have an influence. One follower or 100 followers, our words have consequences, right? And so we owe it to our listeners, the people who are going to read our tweets, the people who are going to listen to our talk, right? We owe it to them to be mindful, to take that into account.
Yeah.
And the people who are listening they owe it to themselves and to us. One, to not misinterpret what we do and not go do crazy things all in the name of, "He told me." Why did you jump off the
Mhm.
bridge? He told me to. No, it doesn't work like that, right? And so
Yeah.
I completely agree with the whole speech thing. But again, I think I'm with Kwesi here. What someone says should only be the beginning of a dialogue, right? Someone gives a thesis, you don't agree, you give an antithesis, and then we sit down and we synthesize, right? And then we grow our society. We don't say, "Hey, he said something I don't like, so cancelled. That person said this, so cancelled." But
Now that is where we are now, right? So now instead of canceling people, let me say based on facts or things
Mhm,
that it's generally accepted to be wrong.
mhm,
Now
mhm,
people are canceling based on their beliefs.
mm,
So if I believe this is how something is supposed to be,
mhm,
and the other person doesn't is not on the same page with me, you're cancelled.
cancelled.
Now we are just it's like too much emotions, and
Hmm.
people are just looking for a reason to be angry about something at every point.
Sheeples, sheeples.
That is exactly where the conversation is going to go next. Where are we now? How does cancel culture look like today? We talked about the genesis. For those of you just joining the conversation, we talked about the genesis, where it began, what it really kind of meant at this incipient stages. And then we just had we concluded a discussion on who deserves to be cancelled. I think the consensus in the room is, well, some people deserve to be canceled, like Nanekia was saying. Like at a point, you need to cancel people. But we were like, okay, actions. For me, actions sometimes, there's not much you can do to explain away actions. So actions for me are like more cancelable. But with words, the things people are saying, there's a freedom of speech, right? But your freedom of speech means you should also have some sensible reasoning for saying what you're saying. And so it's a dialogue. And if we're able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that your position is wrong and you persist, you still stick with that, then it's about time to cancel you. Now we're going to go to something Ifya Yeboah just hinted at. That is how it is now. How is cancel culture looking now? Because clearly, it's none of what we are talking about here. I mean, nobody made us the custodians of cancel culture. Nobody made us the movement leaders. But it's clearly very different from what it's supposed to be or what it's supposed to look like. But before we dive into that, a few of the comments have come in. Let me just quickly dive into a few of them. Rashid is saying, I believe we all need to be canceled, but also given the opportunity to change if they ask for the opportunity. I like what he said there. Everybody can be canceled. Nobody's above being canceled. But before you cancel us, give us the opportunity to change. And that opportunity would only come when people ask for it. I'm aware of what my actions or my words can do, what they're capable of doing. And I'm sorry about it. I would like to be given the opportunity to do better. You don't.
But some people ask for the opportunity and they don't use it.
That is why we're coming to where it is now. We'll dive into individual stories soon. Yabs is here. Yabs is in the building. I hope I'm not late. And Papa is like, hey, Papa, it's funny how they claim they are for freedom of speech, and yet they cancel people for speaking what's on their mind. Absolutely. It's one of the biggest puzzles, right? It's like a catch-22. Like, you have freedom of speech. No, not the freedom of speech to say that. not that. Can I say that? No, not that. And so at the end of the day, is there any freedom? Because I can't say any of the things, right? And so, they tell you, freedom of speech, go be whoever you want to be. Can I be that? No, not that. Can I... Parents in particular, freedom of the way cancel culture works with societies like parents and their kids. Hey, Kojo, you can grow up and be anything you want. Anything? Yeah, anything you want. Like a footballer? No. Like a musician? No. Like a let me just leave it there. But you can be anything you want, but not everything on your list. You either have to be an engineer, a doctor, something, anything in the list.
The traditional.
The traditional acceptable ones.
Acceptable. Kwame is saying you're late, you're cancelled. Kwame, who made you the cancel king? And foul on my side. Absolutely. Kwame, stay away from Yeb's side. But let's get into the conversation around what it looks like today. Because clearly cancel culture is not this dialogue where people are having a conversation about what was wrong and what was right. It's become someone tweets something in the morning in their pajamas, having not even brushed their teeth or done any cleanup in the morning. They wake up, I hate Ifya Yeboah, slapped Kwesi, cancel Ifya Yeboah, hashtag Ifya must go.
Hey.
And by lunchtime, it would have garnered 180k retweets, and then people, your companies will start coming to you. If you're boy, we looks like we're losing followers. Your next deal has been cancelled, right? We're sorry to announce to you we cannot work with you. You've become very toxic to our brand. Like these days, it's so easy. It's still a dialogue. It's like enough people sign up on. It's like those petitions that go around. And then you get cancelled. What that is at least my view of things. Nanekia, what do you think it looks like? What does cancel culture look like to you now?
So for me, it has its good and bad side now, because now, like in a grand scheme of things, like for corporate America, they are more aware and they are more guarded. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but at least it's helping like a social change. It's promoting social change. There's a lot of things that might have been harmful, but people just looked away. But now corporate or companies are being held responsible for their employees acting a fool. You know, we saw that with NBC. I think it was William Brino, I forgot his name, where he was pretty much predating on the female colleagues. And he's been doing that for years. Nobody cared. But because of the cancel culture, and I think it was also part of the Me Too movement, all these women in the company, some who had left, some who got fired because they spoke up, you know, held up the company, held up NBC for not doing much at the time, and they ended up terminating his contract. And that guy is nowhere to be found now on air. Like, nobody will hire him. And for me, that is one of the good things. It's changing the social, you know, things that were not acceptable, but people didn't really care because, you know, people had power and could do whatever they want. But on the flip side, it's also leading to intolerance. People are not taking their time to listen or have an open mind to understand where people might come from. So I think it's in two ways. What people say, like we said earlier, yes, we can hear people out and we can educate or just agree to disagree. But we also know there are some instances where people are deliberate. They know exactly what they are saying. They know they are trying to ruffle some feathers. I mean, we saw one in the U.S. Congress not long ago where a whole bunch of people gathered at the Capitol trying to burn down the place, basically. And we are now going to Congress about it. And people have been arrested. But it all started on social media. People started mobilizing on social media. So if they were caught on early and people were like, oh, these people are trying to create, you know, an election, whatever, and people were calling them out early, the cancel culture might have disrupted that process. But because we didn't allow it, or we were like, oh, you can bully people for what they say, or you can give them a chance to speak whatever they wanted to say, now they got a chance to also act on it. So for me, right now, yes, let's allow people to talk, but there should also be a line. If you cross the line, honestly, you
got to pay the fine.
Of it. Exactly. So someone mentioned there's a freedom of speech. I don't think that's a question. Like, we all know there's freedom of speech. But if your speech is clearly going to offend a large number of people, not just me sitting somewhere in my house thinking, oh, I want to eat watch it this morning. No, if it's offending a group of people, Muslims, Black people, you know, religious sects, like, if you know you're deliberately doing this or saying this to ruffle feathers, you know what you're doing. Like, people shouldn't be excused for these things. And for me, that's where I stand on the cancel culture. I think it's guarding certain things, and also in a way it's not making people open-minded.
So I'm hearing two things here. You think the state of cancel culture today is, one, accountability. It's making people be held accountable for their words. And the second part is like this punishment. It's the judge, jury, executor, everything. The punishment bit. I think there are two sides to this, and I think there's a lot to be said about whether or not, or at least how people see it. Is it holding people accountable today, and is it not holding people accountable? And you remember at the beginning of the show, for those who were here at the start, I promised we were going to spill some tea. Nanekia started a few. I talking about how it is today. I have a story I'm going to share. Ifya and Kwesi and Nanekia are all going to share their story. But the story I want to share is one of the most famous cancel culture, controversies, the brouhahas that happened in the last decade. It's the Kevin Hart hosting the Oscars ordeal, the whole story. And for those of you listening and those watching who didn't pay attention to it or don't know the story, here it goes. We all know this famous, in my opinion, one of the funniest comedians to ever do it. He's been successful. I mean, he's had a wonderful career. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is a comedian. We've always known him to be funny, edgy. He tells stories about his family. I remember when he had a son and he's like, his son is not very smart because his son thought he was actually Spider-Man. He tells so many jokes about his son. And Kevin is one of those people who brings his family into his comedy. There's
Yeah.
no divide. He lets you into his house. He talked about how his daughter played him, where his daughter was like, I want cookies, and the wife is like, you can't have cookies. He's like, Daddy, I want cookies. Like, you can't have cookies because she said so. Like, I thought you're the man of the house, right? And so like he lets us in, and he makes a lot of jokes with his kids in. But in 2009, July 2009, again, I'm giving a rough timeline. If you want the exact dates, let me know and I would
You
do
can
it.
look
But
it up.
in
Yeah.
July 2009, he made a series of jokes about his son and the LGBTQ community. One of the jokes, and it's funny depending on where you sit, was if he found out his son was gay, he would go and buy a dollhouse and come and bash it over his son's head, break it over his son's head. For someone who doesn't like a lot of violence, that was a bit
much.
like, why would you? It's not that deep, but it wasn't a joke. It was a tweet, right? But it wasn't just a tweet. It was a part of his comedy. He had already worked into a joke, so it's this joke thing. So it's like the punchline of the joke that he shared. The whole joke is I think it's like a 6-minute video on YouTube. He did it in one of his specials. So the LGBTQ community pushed back on this. This was in July 2009, right? So in 2010, he was on a podcast and the host asked him about it. And he made jokes about it. He's like, listen, it's a joke. It's not a big deal. And they're like, no, you can't joke like that. So Kevin officially apologized on a podcast and he sent out a tweet apologizing in 2010 for that tweet. May 2015, right? I think March 2015, the LGBTQ community confronted him again on the same joke. And first, he made this, funny is funny. It was a funny joke. And they're like, no, we're not playing with you, man. Like, that's not something you should say. So again, he talked about it, apologized. And in his 2015 special, he talks about it. And he's like, listen, I would be happy if my son is gay. I'll support him. Like, it's a joke and all that. So it's actually in the and that was like the beginning of the political correctness movement, right? So people were holding people. So in 2015, he offers another apology and he puts it in his show. So in December, the Oscars tell him, hey, you're hosting the Oscars in 2019. So December 2018, he is told that. Kevin goes on Twitter and tweets it, hey, finally my dream to host the Oscars is coming true. And the Oscars gets a ton of replies to that tweet. So they also tweeted, Kevin is hosting the 2019 Oscars. And people are like, how can you let him host it? He said a lot of things against the LGBTQ community. How would you let him? Like, this is... So there was outrage on social media. So the Oscars came to him and I was like, Kevin, we dug into your past and we've seen these tweets. Kevin was like, yeah, I tweeted those. And they're like, you are going to have to apologize for that. Kevin was like, yeah, I kind of acknowledge they are terrible tweets and I have apologized for it. The Oscars is like, yeah, for the Oscars, right? For a public thing like this, you have to apologize again. And not seeing the point in apologizing for something. Not only has he apologized for it twice, he apologized for it in 2010. A year after the event. And in 2015, when he was called out again, he did another apology, including it in his special. So it's not like it's a special, it's on Netflix, you can watch it almost every day. So he's apologized for this thing. The Oscars were like, no, until you issue another apology, you can't host it. So Kevin goes on Ellen and it's like, I have an announcement. My dream to host the Oscars is over. I'm not going to host the Oscars anymore because this is basically like holding the guy for ransom. And there's a whole blowback. The Oscars get a ton of backlash, for people who are like, give a person a chance. And it's not like he's apologized for the tweets, right? It's 10 years ago. And the thing is 10 years apart. So in 2019, Kevin Hart was not allowed to host the Oscars because of a tweet he sent out in 2009.
That's crazy.
I know. If it's supposed to be a punishment, in that 10-year gap, Kevin has grown. His position has changed. Again, aside everything, it was a joke. He's a comedian. It's not like he's a doctor who made a joke. He's a comedian who made a joke. And generally, I don't want people to be canceled for their work, right? Because a lot of practices, I know Nanekia and everyone who works, there are practices today that would be unthinkable in 15 years. And there are things people in your work, in the position you're in, were doing like 10 years ago. You would not dream about doing it. It's work, right? Even in medicine, fields evolve, fields grow, things change. We find better ways of doing things. Comedy, it used to be very wrong, like very bad. You listen to this guy who died a few years ago, I think a year. Not Benny Mark. He was an anchor on SNL, the weekend update. Oh, he was very funny, but he was he made, and even there's so many comedians, Richie Pryor and all these oldies. They made jokes that were funny then, but today we'll be like, man, you can't say that.
Yeah. They made a lot of jokes for when 9/11 happened. A lot of anti-Islamic jokes were going around.
Islamophobic jokes. A lot of they've made a lot of homophobic jokes. They made a lot of very bad jokes, right? But it's their work. I like to take away people's crafts from their personality. Most often, your personality seeps into your craft. But again, it's a craft. You remember, how people like Beyonce will tell you, when I'm on stage, I'm Sasha Fierce. When I'm at home, I am Beyonce, right? When they're on stage, they're performing, they're taking over, they're doing their own thing. Sarkodie, you don't expect Sarkodie to be working at home doing ha ha ha. No, that's not the craft, right?
He probably do that.
He's probably doing that.
On stage, maybe but on stage maybe he's doing ha. But when he's talking to his kids, he's not doing.
He's not doing that.
He's not doing that. So generally, when I like,
you know what time it is.
You know what time it is.
He's not walking around telling his.
I know he's saying he probably say that to his son. When he's about to feed him, like, you know what time it is?
No, I don't think he's doing that. But yeah, again, that's Kevin's story, and that's what cancel culture looks like today. We can go into your past, and for those of you watching from Ghana, it happened to Kidi a few weeks or months ago.
But they didn't cancel him, though, right?
Yeah, but again, that was the intention, though. Let's make it look so bad, and I think he also got on top of things. He apologized. I saw this apology.
He's apologized like 3 times already for that.
Yeah,
he was a young man, not justifying anything, but this is the state of cancel culture today. Once we hear you're up for something, Kwesi is about to get $1 million contract. We all go onto his Facebook, onto his Twitter, and we're doing keyword search. When did he ever say the B word?
Kwame
when did he ever say the N word? We're just going to find something and then retweet, and then make sure people are smear. We go on a smear campaign, basically. Yeah. That's the state. That's how at least I see cancel culture now. How do you guys see it? This is my now. It's a smear campaign. Whenever, and we saw this with Justice Kavanaugh when he was nominated for the Supreme Court. We hear so many things that happened 30 years ago that were never reported to anyone. That it's like once you're about to hit the bag, once you're about to make bread, everybody goes on your Twitter and does the keyword search, and that at least that's what I see cancel culture to be.
I think
okay, Kwesi.
I was just adding to what you're saying, that Charlie, I think there are people that needs to be canceled, but the state of cancel culture right now, the gatekeepers are falling asleep and they're letting everybody get canceled now. Right? It's like you sneeze wrong and you're canceled. Like I get it if, for instance, you're signed to a company, right? And you're signed to Nike, and part of your contract says you can't wear Adidas on camera, at least on camera for the general public to see. If you go wear Adidas and Nike starts a cancel whatever against you, they initiate the whole cancellation against you. You deserve it, right? It's in your contract. But I'm saying if you go say something, right? For instance, as we're talking about stories, right? I told you guys about the baby. He was on stage in Florida in his concert. After his concert, I don't know why he decided to do that, but he decided to just run his mouth. And all he was saying, he was ranting. If you watch the video, he was saying, if you're a girl, you like men, put your lighters up, like your phone flashlight. If you're this, you're that. Then he got to the part where he says, now, fellas, if you're a man and you don't want to put another man's private part in your mouth in a parking lot, you don't do that. Hey, put your lighters up, right? and apparently it was homophobic, and I don't.
It is homophobic.
Okay, Kukwa. Okay,
Yeah.
me telling a straight man, right, that
Mhm.
I appreciate you liking girls and getting married, whatever, doesn't mean I hate homosexuals,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
We talk about tolerating people, right? Let's tolerate everybody, right? Is it one side? Because it's beginning to look one-sided now, right? I get it. In the 70s, they were hanging people for being gay. They were doing this, and we are against it. That is horrific. We hate. We're not gonna do that. Let's not do that. Let's enact laws that protect them. Whatever. But me saying that I like Kwejo because his girlfriend is pretty. He like women, right? He whatever. Doesn't mean I hate Fifi or Kwame for being gay. Right? Unless
Kwame
I
is
go
good.
out, right? Unless I go out of my way, unless I go out and I open my mouth and I said I
get
hate
that.
Kwame for being gay.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Okay.
me liking like one side of the aisle doesn't mean I hate the other side of the aisle, right?
So
And
that's
it's
not
about
what I got
time.
from the baby's issue, though. Because clearly, sometimes you can make one-sided statement, and it could definitely mean multiple
Yeah,
things.
but
And also,
Prof,
he was on a platform speaking to thousands of people, where I'm sure there's definitely gay people in the crowd. I mean, I don't think they are the gate checking what your sexuality is before you get in. So imagine the gay people in the crowd at that time he was going off, talking whatever, spewing whatever. Imagine how they would feel if
Kukwa,
the guy you paid money to come see is out there saying stuff like that.
yeah, but Kukwa, let's be objective here and let's take the feelings a little bit. I know I don't want to say let's not talk about
That's
feelings.
what it
It's
is,
feelings. No. But I
That's what it
understand,
is.
right? The feelings is it's there. We respect people's how they feel, right? We protect them. We enact laws to protect them, right? But maybe we could say, okay, why didn't you give shout out to gay people? Like if you were coming from that angle, I will understand, right? Because he was giving shout out. He didn't say he hated gay people. I mean,
He
and
didn't
I'm not
have
supporting.
to say it. He didn't have to say it that
but
way.
saying shout out, put your light up if you're straight, doesn't mean put your light down.
That's
if
not
you,
what
if
he
you're
said
gay.
either.
That's what he said.
He
He
was
said put your lighters
derogatory.
up, right?
If you are not in a parking lot sucking dick. Right?
Exactly.
What does that mean? That was
So he was
derogatory
an
to gay people.
idiot. He was an idiot for saying foul stuff, right? For saying.
Let's see if we can bring this thing. I know we've said a lot of things that can make this video demonetized. Like we've used the H word so many times, and we've really said a couple of things. Kwesi, not to. I understand what Kwesi is saying, that we've created this world where it's always a duality. It's always either this or that. There's no neutral ground. And I see why Nanekia would point to that. It's not even just what is said, it's how it's said.
Exactly.
The same statement can be said by two people in two different tonations with two different vibes, and it will mean two different things. I can come in here and be like, those of you wearing sweaters, put your lighters up. There are a couple of us on the show right now wearing sweaters, right?
Yeah.
And I can say it in another way. Those of you who found it necessary to wear sweaters when it's cold outside, now put your lighters up. It's the exact same, idea being conveyed, but one of them is talking directly at Ifya Yeboah without going to Ifya Yeboah. And so there are ways to sort of talk about these things, right? And get on the wrong side. I am not very familiar with the baby situation. And honestly, this is where my age begins to show. These days, I can't keep up with the number of babies in hip hop. There's
I
the
know.
baby, lil baby, mama baby, dada baby.
There's no mama baby.
So many
There's
babies,
no
and so
mama baby.
I
Your
don't
age is
know. I'm
showing.
not
Your
so
age is
familiar
showing.
with.
There's
Yeah,
no
I
mama
know.
baby.
I
There's
agree.
no mama baby.
You know, when I talk about hip hop, I'm talking about Jay-Z, Nas, you know, Biggie, you
Your
know,
age
all
is
these.
showing, pa.
And so
Your
yes,
age
I
is
know my age is
showing.
showing, but Kwesi, I completely like the fact that you brought our attention to it, and at least you educated some of us. Personally,
And I like the
I
fact
didn't
that
know
he
much
talked
about the
about
story.
tolerance, right?
Mhm.
How he
That
went that tangent. I really do, because I mean, everyone preach like be inclusive,
Mhm.
accept
Yeah.
people, have
inclusivity,
have diverse
right?
views. Yet
Mhm.
they cannot stand anything that is
Exactly,
not
and
them.
that's that's my whole point,
That
right?
is a problem.
You
Okay.
asking me to accept you, but you don't want to accept me. If I'm not, I get it. If I'm disrespecting you, right? I
Mhm.
want you to not accept me because I'm a
Mhm.
disrespectful
Yeah.
mofo, right? I
Mhm.
get it. But if your whole movement is about me accepting you for who you are, right?
Mhm.
Why can't you accept me for who I am, minus the idiot side of me? I don't want anybody to accept the idiot side of me. And the idiotic side of me is me saying, well, F you, F you, F your mama, do this. I don't like it. Like, that is me going off like an idiot, right? But if I
Mhm.
say that my side is me and Kojo, we are straight. Let's go to a straight nightclub and pick up chicks, right?
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that I hate gay clubs. I
That
don't
that
want to go
doesn't
to gay
mean
clubs.
yeah.
but
That
it's
is
how
not.
no, it can mean that
It's
again.
how
I'm
I
trying.
say I
No,
get
no,
it. That is
I'm
why
trying. Yeah. Mhm.
that's why I'm saying that. Don't take my idiotic
You
side.
can choose how people react though. That's the
No, no,
thing.
no, no,
Exactly.
no.
Kojo.
If I
I mean, I
say,
think Kojo.
I don't know. Let me rephrase it.
Mhm.
If I'm spewing out hate, right?
Mhm.
You have every right to come for me, right?
Okay.
But if I say, oh, for instance, there's a Pride fest every June, I think June,
Mhm.
right, in Chicago. Okay,
Mhm.
I bet you if somebody should start a straight fest in July, they're gonna get canceled,
Yeah, I agree.
Well, there's a
I agree.
someone actually tried, and there's a reason
right?
why they would get
The
canceled.
Yeah.
question is,
It's like
why
saying the
would
all
you,
whites matter thing.
right?
Mhm.
Why would you cancel them? I have a question. Anybody can answer me.
Because it's a boycott. Basically, you're boycotting them for their struggle.
How? But
Yeah,
how am
yeah,
I
but
boycotting
There's-
you
I
in
don't know how to
July?
say Kojo.
but
Chrissy,
wait,
There's
guys.
histories behind these movements. Okay,
Mhm.
Black Lives
Yeah.
Matter. Same thing. Let me finish, please.
Mhm.
So Black Lives Matter is a big example because right now it's like hogwash. Nobody cares about it. When someone says hashtag Black Lives Matter, nobody really pays attention to it anymore. And you know why? Because the people on the other side literally boycotted it for doing exactly what you just said someone should do. By saying, well, all lives matter. Well, why lives matter? Nobody's saying they didn't matter, but there's a reason why I was in the streets. I was out here in Seattle protesting for Black Lives Matter because
I
in the
was too.
spirit of how, thank you. So how would you feel with people out there saying, well, every life matter, you guys are idiots, go sit
No,
down?
no.
No.
What-
So when people
Well,
start
well-
doing the anti-movements,
Mhm.
it kind of camouflages or just erases everything that you are fighting for, the human right you
Okay.
are fighting for.
Interesting.
I have a
That's what it
question.
is.
Kwesi, one second. Before we dive into this whole movement, counter movement conversation, which is another lovely conversation we can get into. Let's get back to cancel culture. Else the two of you will be cancelled.
Yeah.
I can cancel the two of you. I can, but before I cancel, let me go back to the comments. The comments are coming in thick and fast. Kwame was worried that if he had commented something that Kwesi said, it wouldn't have been read. Kwame, I completely agree
Kwame,
with
that's
you.
true.
Kwesi went off on you. He put out your secrets. You can't spill the beans like that.
No. I
Kwame.
was just using a name. There's 1 million Kwames in the world. I was
Okay.
just using my brother. My brother is named Kwame.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know we're pulling your legs, right?
I know. So if don't pay no attention to Kwame.
Well, Glenn is giving you a shout out. Shout out to the 35K
Oh, Glenn.
We're not going to explain the 35k
Yeah,
thing
Glenn, you're gonna
on
be
the show.
cancelled.
Glenn,
Glenn
be
is
careful.
cancelled.
Erikwa is saying hello, everyone. Hello, Erikwa. It's nice to
Hi.
see you on the show again. It's been a minute. People are laughing at my mama baby thing. Listen, it's not my fault. Again, it shows my
Your
age.
age
I'm
is
beginning to
showing,
gray.
pa. How can you even say mama baby?
Listen,
Who is
I
mama
can't
baby?
keep up with the numerous musicians who come up. And the thing
No,
is,
the baby's mom is Mama Baby.
there
Oh
we
my
go.
goodness.
There
Now
we
both
go.
of you,
Thank
where
you.
Is
do
that
you
actually
come
a real
from?
thing, Chrissy?
No, but Naneke,
Yeah.
Naneke and Ifya, well, listen to me again. I'm going to say another thing that's going to make my age show. But the thing is, at first, whenever I tune into the radio, I don't even need to know the musician's name.
The voice,
I hear
yeah.
1, 2, 3, and to the 4. You're not going to tell me that's
Who
Snoop,
that
right?
is.
When I hear nobody's going to tell me, oh, that's Eminem. When I hear Kanye, but these days I hear
They all sound the same.
and I'm like, which one is that?
Leave
They're
them
like,
alone.
they're like Lil
Okay.
Baby. I'm like, okay, Lil Baby sings like that. Then next thing I hear I'm like, who is that? They're like The Baby. I'm
The
like,
Baby.
oh, that's Lil Baby. They're like two different people.
No.
Okay. Then I'm like, enough. It's one way. It's the same sound. It's the same name. Like, come on, be original. So yeah, I'm sorry.
Your
PY,
age is showing.
my age is showing. Rashid is saying, I agree with Kwesi, but someone makes two statements. Half of the people in the room are mad versus half of the people are not mad. People do seem to prefer the latter. Absolutely. I think again, it's all about speaking, public speaking. Like there's so many times it would be right to go and tell someone, oh, what you did was so foolish. But we're like, no, what you did wasn't very smart. It's the exact same
That's
thing.
a way to say
But
it.
how to say it is key. Like even the same statement, like you can tell someone will be like, man, what you did was so not smart. That was the dumbest thing you could do. And someone will be like, hey, my friend, that was pretty dumb, like, yeah. And it's the same statement that was made, but one would tear you down and the other one would, it will bring you down a little, but you'd survive. Imagine you get to your boss's office on a Monday morning and he gives you a hairdresser, right? Man, last week you really goofed on the meeting. Like, you cost us so much money. And another boss is like, man, what you did has really set us back. We need to re-strategize, figure out a way to deal with this. I mean, I want you to know we're in your corner. You would have lost the same amount of money, but one of them you might quit your job, and the other one you'd be like, listen, it's a thing, And so it's important. And I think, especially in the day of cancel culture, we the people speaking should be mindful, knowing that what you're saying can get you canceled.
Especially if you have a big platform, like seriously.
Exactly. Like when you have a big platform like
I agree with that.
Like you and I,
you didn't let me take my small fake brag.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
If you have a big platform like the Casa Podcast, you owe it to your listeners.
There you go.
Come on, let me do a little. But Jack, if you're here and you haven't yet subscribed, come on, hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this one. A share would be really appreciated. I'm not big, I'm really small. We're now growing. Like we're now getting there.
Getting started.
But Kwesi, you're getting a lot of support. Amanda is saying, I agree with Kwesi. Liberals are the most intolerant people.
And let me say something. Hold on. There's a reason why. See, they're and Amanda is right. Liberals always lose, and they will forever lose. I'm just saying.
You're turning my platform into a very
No.
I have a lot of liberals.
No. It's not. It's because see, that thing they say that everybody is a tough guy till the real tough guy shows up.
This is not PY though.
Let's not do politics on here. I agree to a degree with a statement that and think about it. It's in the name. Progressive, conservative. Conservatives want things to be as they are, and you can't change things if you want things to be as they are. Sometimes you have to take
that side.
You have to take a hammer to the glass ceiling and shatter it. And again, it's in the name. It's in the name. If you're going to be progressive, you're going to have to break some mold. You have to break how society is. And as much as we may not like some liberal ideas, I am a liberal. I'm a libertarian. I push for a lot of progressive stuff. It's only when it comes to finances that I'm very conservative because I want my money to stay in my pocket. I don't want my money to go anywhere. But yeah, it has to be like that. Things have to change when people say, hey, no more of this. And so I can see when people are reluctant to change, and you're like, we got to change. Like, why can't I be racist anymore? Yeah, because it's not good to be racist, right?
Kojo, we want
Yes, sir.
people to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
But are we going to change ourselves?
Oh yeah,
Because it looks one-sided, right?
It's not, Chrissy.
No, but Kwesi,
no, what I'm
about,
saying
think
is,
about
no,
it.
let me
How
finish.
would-
Let me
wait,
finish.
wait.
Let me
No,
finish.
no. I want you to wait and explain it to us again. So conservatives and progressives or liberals change. So there's a change and there's a no change movement. How would the push for change not be one-sided?
No, what I'm saying is
This
let's
is
go
not
back to the
about
cancel
what is-
culture,
I
not
know.
politics.
I'm just
Politics.
messing
Not
with him.
politics.
I'm just
We
messing
need
with
to hop
him.
on TUI radio
But-
for
No.
Yeah,
I'm trying to stay on a cancel culture and not go into politics. When I said a liberal, whatever, I was just messing with you guys. I was joking. Fine. But let's stick to the cancel culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're canceling somebody for something somebody said, right? Don't you think sometimes we should try to understand, like, okay, why is he saying so much nonsense? Right? Why is he saying so much dumb stuff? Like, where is he coming from that makes him say this much dumb stuff?
In your opinion,
right?
I have
in my
a
opinion,
for you.
Yeah.
Right? In
Why
my
is he
opinion,
saying so many dumb stuff? In my opinion, how I perceive it. Because to him, it's so we live in the same building, but we got different views, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he's
yeah.
telling you how things look from his view or her view, and you're telling them from your view. And so, yes, what they are saying is dumb to you, and what you're saying is dumb to them. And that's why at the beginning of the conversation, I was like, instead of polarizing, instead of looking away from each other and canceling each other, let us start a conversation.
And you guys know the funny thing.
That's what I'm saying.
That actually, I'm glad you brought up the baby, because the baby wasn't actually canceled. He was called out, and then the LGBT group actually gave him an olive branch. They asked him to come and talk because it might just be ignorance, and he did. He accepted it, and now we move forward.
They canceled him. He's dead. They canceled him. No, he was
canceled the baby.
They canceled him.
Nanega, I don't know if you know that much about the baby. Me, I don't.
I was following it.
They canceled him, meaning that now no one listens to his music.
That's not even true. I mean, he has low ratings because his music is, for me, trash. But
it used to be like that, though.
His music was popping, right? Then he made that comment.
It's trash, though.
Right? He made that comment. He lost endorsements. Like it was downhill from there.
Let's get back to the comments.
We'll agree to disagree on that.
We're going to finish this episode on a nice note. But let me get through some of the comments. Glenn is saying tolerance is a beautiful subject until it is in situational.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then there are definitions. People redefine what tolerance is. I completely agree. We all love tolerance until it is time for us to tolerate others, and then we start doing semantics with it. Kwesi just can't read the room. That is what Michael is saying. Michael, the rest of the comments,
I don't even know what that means.
Don't mind him. It really looks one-sided. Absolutely. Like I said, again, this is a joke, but conservation and liberation would always look one-sided. Because conservation is like, let's not change anything. We love it how it is. And
we love slavery. Slavery was really good.
It doesn't help, right? And so I think that is kind of how it works. And again, it's not a bad thing. It's the discussion. It's the discussion. So basically, Kwesi says, "Oh, come on. I'm not reading this, Kwame. I'm not reading this, Kwame. Your comments will get you canceled. Kwame, it's true. You can't come on my show and do that very soon. Yes, everybody agrees, Kwame. Your comments might get you canceled from the show. But again, for those of you who joined the show, we've been talking about cancel culture, what it looks like, where it came from, how it's going today. And I learned a lot today in the show that the baby, for me, all the babies are the same. One of them has been cancelled. And, old people. old people problems. But before we're going to end with my last question, but before we do, there's something Nanekia brought up that I want us to revisit, and I'm going to read two main comments, and then we're going to share our thoughts on it, and we'll go. Kwesi shared an article with us, and I'm going to put it up on the screen for those of you watching, and for those of you listening, I'm going to tell you exactly what the article is about. And so for those of you watching, I have the article up. I'm going to scroll all the way to the top. It's from the Pew Research Center, and if anyone is watching or listening who works at Pew, that's my dream job. So guys, get me in. I need a job at a research center like that. Now that I'm done announcing my career prospects, moving on. Americans and cancel culture, where some see calls for accountability, others see censorship and punishment, which has been the whole conversation. I think some people agree, and Nanekia pointed out there's an accountability bit, and some of us do see this punishment thing where we don't think anybody is being held accountable. It's just punishment. And these two comments stood out to me. So this man in his 60s who is a moderate Democrat, and so a moderate progressive liberal, center. And why is it accountability? If presented appropriately, that is cancel culture, that's exactly what calling someone out does. It makes them hopefully forces them to consider the nature of their actions, either consciously or unconsciously, and it can add a stigma to feeling free to be offensive without forethought, which is what the advocates of cancel culture would tell you. This is the aim. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make people more aware, make people more sensitive to the things they're saying, so that whether or not you're thinking about it consciously or unconsciously, you're giving thought to your action, and then this whole free speech thing comes with some stigma. Yeah, I know I have free speech, but I owe it to my audience to do better because there's a cost to be paid. That's what this comment basically suggests. And then there's another comment. Why is it a punishment? From a more conservative leaning respondent. There's a woman also in her 60s, and she's like, how can we know what others find offensive? It is too easy to be offended and not even try to understand the issue. Have a discussion or debate. Everyone should be able to express their opinions and then agree to disagree, rather than being close-minded and offended. Too often, people say, accept diversity, but are unwilling to listen to the ideas of others. These comments, and I think after reading it, you guys see exactly why these comments stood out to me. This has been like the central theme of Kwesi's main presentation. We always advocate for tolerance, be willing to listen to others, be willing to engage, but we're not willing to engage. We're closed-minded. What we think is right, and everything everyone else thinks is dumb. And this is where a lot of the people who give pushback to this whole cancel culture notion are coming from. It's like the desire to engage, the desire to debate is gone. It's like you either agree with me or you're the bad guy. Yeah, you either agree with me or you're dumb, which is exactly how a lot of people feel. But I don't think that's how we feel, Kwesi. Even though I'm not a very pro cancel.
I mean, like on PY
mm-hmm.
radio, we tolerate a lot of people, right? We let them go, right? We don't cancel people until they cross the line.
They cross the line.
When it gets a little personal, they're like, okay. And even that, we don't cancel them. They're allowed to come back.
But
right?
Imagine if PY Radio had like this huge following, right? And we had like thousands of people come on every time. And someone said these things the first time, we would be held accountable. That is the cancel culture.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But right there, we will let them know, right?
Letting people like that come to our platform.
Yeah, but we will counter them right there and say that, hey, Guy, Kofi, hey, Kwame Bronx, relax.
now
This
you
is not.
now you're
Oh,
adding
now you're calling
Now
them out.
standards.
this is
Oh
specific.
no, no,
No,
Now
no,
that's
me-
an
this is
attack.
very
No,
That's
me
an
and
attack.
me and Kwame's beef is personal, and it's everywhere. It's like it's on
Okay.
site. It's always on site.
Okay. Before we,
This
we
is
take this
Chicago
before we take
okay.
this beef to our cancel grave, our cancel culture grave, I have a last question for you guys, and
Mhm.
we'll be wrapping up the show, guys. It's been amazing having you guys on
Yeah.
here, and for those of you who've been watching, we really appreciate it. It's a conversation that's gotten everybody all gingered up, and I think we can go for days if you allowed us.
Yeah.
But our podcast shouldn't go for 2 hours. I think we should start thinking of
No.
wrapping up. And so now I have a big question for every one of you before you go. Where do you think this is going? How do you see cancel culture in the next few years? What do you think the future of this movement is? Nanekia, I know I have a
So-
funny feeling you are pro cancel culture. And so I want to know
I'm a little pro because it served its purpose in the past.
Okay.
Like right now, it's watered down. Like
Mhm.
and where it's going, which is your
Mhm,
question now.
mhm.
I think it will get to a point where people will not pay attention anymore.
Mm.
It will just be
Mm.
that one thing where hashtag cancel Nanekia, and people are like, well, what did she do? I think we are getting to that point where people are just not going to jump on the bandwagon anymore because we've seen what cancel culture has turned into. I support it because of how it started. It held people accountable. It actually got people or victims some justice. And this is
Mhm.
not even for people who said things.
Mhm.
These were people who actually did things. And I know you guys are saying, oh, someone said this 10, 15 years ago. For me, if you're a victim of like a sexual assault at a workplace for that matter, and you probably spoke up, got fired and all that, 20 years later, 30 years later, if you're getting some justice, that is what cancel culture was doing. And I fully supported that. Example is Stephen Weinstein, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly. They all started getting canceled in recent years, but they did these horrific things years ago, and people were not speaking that time. So cancel culture is bringing these things to light. But right now, or where it's going, yeah, I don't think nobody will pay attention anymore, and it's sad, but that's the world we live in. I think something else will pop up, and we will all again jump to that and see how that works. So that's my take. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think I share some of the sentiments in there. I don't see where it's going to be a very lovely place. But Kwesi, what do you think is the future of cancel culture?
There is no future, man. There is no future. It's
Straight up.
watered. Yeah, I'm just gonna say what it is, man. There's no future. It's watered down. The problem with, I think, what started this whole thing is we didn't have enough options legally to hold people accountable.
Yep.
And when that problem is there, people took it upon themselves to start canceling people, right?
Yeah.
Let's advocate for better laws that protect people, better laws that if you incite
like that.
violence will come for you, sit you down, find evidence,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever we want to do, lock you up, whatever, house arrest, do it. Because this whole cancellation thing, it's going nowhere, man. It's people's
It's what
feelings.
it's
Like
called.
me against you now. Like if I have 1 million followers and I don't like you, Kwejo, because you said something, I just go incite my followers to come and follow you and cancel you, right? It's getting a little messy. He has gotten a little messy.
Interesting.
And to me, I don't think he has any future. It's a dying breed. It's dying.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's what it is.
That's interesting. But I saw some applause from Nanekia. I think you did touch on a few things that we
Basically just
agree.
yeah.
Evia Yeboah,
Yeah.
you've been sitting on the sidelines for a while.
Yeah.
You were there ringing the bell. Round one, Nanekia and Kwesi. And then we were there scratching our heads like,
Oh my god.
Anyway,
It was
where do you think
interesting
it's going?
listening to them.
It
I
was,
think
it
as they
was.
said, it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's sort of it's one of those things where things will come up and everyone will jump on it, and then afterwards it just waters down. You just go your way. I think what Chrissy said, there used to be laws, but when people of power do wrong things, it's
Yeah.
hard for them to, it's a society. We could try to be perfect as much as we want, but money is power. So then they realize, okay, if there are some laws, but they are not getting the justice they deserve, so let's do it as people. And people coming together is like a strong force. So that is
Yep.
where the cancel culture was very, it had that much power. But now it's like we've already put people on their toes. You've put the I mean, people in the the what do you call them, in government here, on their toes, and now everyone is conscious and everyone that don't want to look like they're not taking anyone seriously. And so if you do something wrong, yes, the law is going to deal with you now, so we don't need to do that. Now it's more personal and simple beef, and then you just feel like, okay, I'm not going to deal with this person anymore, which is, it's fine. It's just not going anywhere as much as we thought it was. The Chappelle said now the internet is not a real place, so whatever he said on the internet is not really coming for him. Yeah.
Interesting. I think I disagree with the three of you. For the first time, I disagree with all three of you.
Okay.
Cancel culture has achieved a lot and will continue to achieve a lot. It starts the conversation. It's going to change. It's going to morph. It's going to grow into something else. It's not going to go away just like that. For a long time, we all knew a lot of bad things that were happening. It's like, who am I to talk about it? Hey, who am I to say something? Like, we didn't want to engage. We didn't want to confront these things head on. Now, we called people out. We started a movement. Social media helped. Now, we hold our lead. People go and at the president and ask for accountability. We go and at companies, shops, like these things. We tell them. And the beautiful thing is, what I think we never mentioned on here is, it's become about the bottom line. Listen, companies are changing their whole operations, not because they're good people and they suddenly grew a conscience, but now it's affecting their bottom line. People are changing their overarching policies. Like when Nike, when all these companies used to go and use all these horrible practices just so they would make a profit. Look at what happened with Colin Kaepernick. And Kaepernick took a knee. It's like, this is another guy just yelling. And people were like, okay, we're going to all take a knee. The NFL had a decision. Do you go against the social justice movement or you embrace it? What did the NFL did? They buckled. They embraced it because it's at the end of the day, it's affecting their bottom line. The NBA, Black Lives Matter. When we're in the bubble, the NBA and the commissioner had a decision to make. If you don't embrace this and amplify the voice of your players, we're not going to watch you again. We're going to boycott the NBA. Before we realized, the NBA started spray painting Black Lives Matter on the court. Players were taking a knee at the NBA finals. When it comes to people's money, people would suddenly grow a conscience. And that is what cancel culture does. When we tell artists, if you don't stop saying this dumb stuff, nobody's going to stream your videos. Suddenly, they get corporate. They stop being corner boys, and then they become corporate tech thinkers. And this is what social media, cancel culture is going to do. It's going to steer the conversation that way. We always realize when you appeal to people's morality, people's values, people's conscience, it never works. But when you appeal to the money bag,
the bottom line,
when you start touching
hit them where it hurts. Hit them where it
people
hurts.
are going to sit up. And so yes, it's going to evolve. It's not
I mean,
it's no longer going to
I think it has evolved, Kojo.
It
I think now
has,
people
it
are
has.
conscious.
And that is why I'm
has.
saying
More
the
conscious.
state of cancel culture now and what is going to be, I see it's going to change. Yes, of course. Now you tweet, nobody's going to mind you. Let's tweet. No. But when you and there's a graphic and there's a research to prove this. Before 2016, consumerism was a very liberal thing. Progressives were the consumers, and they were boycotting issues and they were boycotting stuff. And then in 2020, we saw a big shift. Now, conservatives are now exercising consumerism. They are boycotting stuff too. Whenever progressive boycott Chick-fil-A for the issues and the positions they take, conservatives boycott Chick-fil-A. They go and eat from Chick-fil-A even if they don't want to. And so now you'd see that you start a movement, Black Lives Matter, and then they start another movement. Now everybody has seen the
Blue
power
lives.
of organization, but the thing with the power of organization is soon you're asking for a table. Now sit down and tell us what you think. And if you've realized, this is why people like Kanye West go and wear White Life Matter t-shirts. At first, it would just be a t-shirt they wear, but now they'll put a mic in front of you and be like, okay, so now explain it. And that's going to be the future of cancel culture. You make noise, enough noise, people will take notice of you, and then they'll put a mic in front of you and be like, now explain the stuff you're saying. And if you're full of horse, you'd be exposed. If you're full of hot air, you'd be exposed. So I think we're never going to stop canceling people. We're never going to be, we're not going to get rid of the threat of being canceled, because even on the show, we're being mindful of the things we're saying. Because in the back of our mind, that one day someone would dig this up. There are several times I see a tweet and I write a comment, and in the back of my mind, like, I would be canceled someday for this, and then delete. That is the power of cancel culture, and that is how it's going to shape the conversation going forward. So it's not going to die. We would wish. A lot of people like, can this go away? No. It's like the traffic light. It's like offside in football. It's here to stay. Learn to play with the offside. Before offside came, and when they introduced, everything is offside, we don't like it. Now strikers learn to play in the offside system. And so we're all going to learn to live in the system where we're held accountable for our actions. Where if you said something and your company doesn't like it, you're being fired.
You get fired.
You can't say the internet is not a real place, so I'm going to go down there and insult people. No. That's the culture we are going to grow up in. Kids of tomorrow are not going to have to be told about cancel culture. They're conscientized. They grow up in the system.
Yeah.
They know what's okay and what's not okay. And so that's kind of the future. It's changing the world, and if you either change with it or you turn into a dinosaur and die away. And so that's kind of my take on it. That's my future of cancel culture.
Interesting.
Did I change your minds?
Not really. No.
Hey,
not for me.
hey.
No.
Nobody's mind was
It's
changed.
If we had enough time, I would have told you why. But
Okay.
I think it's easy. It's easy to call people out.
Guys, do you want us to do this?
The disadvantage of cancel culture.
We've gone past that.
I thought we were wrapping up.
That is what I'm going to do. So if you're on here and you're in the comment section, let us know if you want this conversation to go on. We want to do part 2. Maybe next week we can continue on the cancel culture episode, and then we can start discussing the future and a few other things. So if you're on here and you want a repeat, just leave a like or a thumb down in the comment section, a thumbs up in the comment section. Let's just see how many. Oh yeah, Maxwell is saying go on. So long as we get the comments coming in, we would definitely keep we'll bring it back. We're going to wrap up the show, right? I'm going to read a few comments, and then thank you so much for joining. Jane is saying, well said, Kwesi. A lot of people definitely agreed with some of the things you said. Cancel culture is sometimes correction culture. It's not always bad. Man, Ajafrin Poma, I really love that comment. It is correction culture, and sometimes we correct it and then we
but
go
it's
on.
Sometimes bad, right?
Hey, you are going to respond.
You're
not responding to any comments. You're done for the day. Kwejo, I share the same sentiment. Now I don't just tweet because I feel it has to be said. I think about it, what I could potentially lose at the moment or later. Absolutely. Now we're learning. Human beings are adaptive. We're adapting to this cancel culture lifestyle, and we're all changing little by little. It's not big, but in 10 years, you see that there's things that nobody ever says. And it's because we've been conscientized to not be more sensitive. Opoku Fojo is saying, go on. Opoku, is good to see you. Jane is saying, go on. So guys, the audience has spoken. We're going to have to run it back. We're going to run cancel culture back for episode 67. It's been wonderful having you on the show. I don't think we've gone this far into a show. It's an hour and 26 minutes, but it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining the Casa podcast today. We've had some wonderful people in the building. We've had some wonderful comments, and we've been growing and we've been learning. Personally, I've learned so much about the baby and cancel culture today. We're going to continue the conversation. Same time next week is Cancel Culture Part 2. We're going to hear more from Kwesi, more from Nanekia. If you're going to sit on the background looking pretty and
I'll
like,
just observe
I'm
them.
not going to jump into this. I'm not going to jump into this. But guys, wonderful show. Thank you so much for coming. And guys, once again from the tribe, it's
Bye.
Bye.
bye.